So my airbrush is broken down, just waiting on some new parts to arrive, so the painting video for the heads are going to be a little bit delayed. So look forward to a video coming out a little bit later, but it's still on its way. So today I'll be doing a partial review on the Tamiya Churchill. This kit came out from like the 70s, so it's a pretty impressive mold. With the kit, it comes with these like additional little model like figures. It comes with these little figures and a little like farmer trader dude. It's pretty neat. It comes with these little bottles and stuff. It's a very nice little addition for the modern like sailing of the kit, because obviously the kit is quite old, and then they still add on some new things. And these little figures are quite nice. They kind of remind me of like mini art type of quality little figures. They're very nice little figures. And here you can see the tracks and the sprockets all in this little neat little packet. Struggled to open that a little bit, but got it opened up and having a look at that. And you can see some of the hull pieces behind that sprue. But yeah, this casting and the molding of this is very nice, especially for an old kit like the 70s. To think that some of these brands were making some awful things then, but for a brand like Tamiya to be this far ahead of everybody else is so impressive. The only thing I really felt like I didn't really like was the fitting of the turret. The two turret pieces sort of struggled a bit, but that's all perfectly fine. You know, often a wee bit of filler can fix that. Maybe a nice bit of cast texture, which I'll be doing in a follow-up video, which is coming up soon. So here you can see they have these figures that came with the original kit. They're a lot more chunkier than the ones, like the additional ones they added. But you know, they're alright. The additional ones are definitely just far, far, far better. The fitting of the little rubber band tracks to go together quite nice. And you can see the upper hull. It's pretty cool. The side of the hull there. And coming up will be the lower hull. You can see the fittings to the RC stuff still on there. Obviously because it's an old Tamiya kit. And then look at the instruction manual and see the first step. So now I'm just going to cut out some of these pieces here. Everything sort of worked out pretty well. Just kind of the little rubber pieces to put in between the sprockets. The spins, to glue them onto the actual model. But everything went together really nicely here. There's all that keying and stuff. And the molding's quite good, especially, like I said before, this is a 70s kit. Some of these moldings are pretty nice, even nowadays. Obviously, there's a little else of it lacks, and maybe some of the details are a bit chunkier, a bit oversized. But for what it is, it's pretty good. So now I'm gonna start building the front plate of the Churchill. I wanted to drill out the barrel of the little machine gun just to sort of give it that extra little pizzazz, to make it look a little bit nicer, because obviously like having just a chunky filled-in barrel is just not very appealing. I struggled a bit with this. I've never really done a lot of like drilling of the barrels, or even drilling with things like small parts like that. So I just want to try and pick that up as like a new additional skill to add on to my models to improve older kits that don't have like slide molded little pieces like that. I just need to practice that and get doing it, but I managed to pull it off. I had to get out some different little tools. I used my hobby blade to sort of expand it, so I made a really fine little hole using my drill, and then I used the hobby knife to expand it a bit, and then we would glue this off on the inside to clean it up a bit. And now I'm just going to be gluing on all these little pieces onto the front plate. fitting in good. The machine gun's working, so you can sort of fling it about a bit. Just little dingling little piece that goes into the back of it to keep it in place, and it allows the little ball turret to move freely. So now I'm going to be working on drilling out this hole into the bottom of the lower hull to put a nut into the bottom so that I could use this big screw to hold the model when I'm doing the painting, because I'm wanting to apply a Hessian camouflage, and I would imagine trying to hold that and paint for that would be probably a bit problematic, because you can probably damage the stuff you're adding onto the tank. So I just wanted to try this out, and I think I did a good job. Obviously, you can't really mess that up. It's just a nut to the bottom of your tank, but you know, I think I did okay. I'm just gonna start applying these pieces onto the lower hull to start getting all those parts finished up. Then I can start working on the tracks, which will be quite nice to finally get done. I had a few issues with building this up, this lower piece, of building the attaching the front plate. The footage jumps and cuts a little because I must have not recorded it. I fiddled and messed it up a bit trying to put it in because there's a very specific fitting, but I messed it up a wee bit, but I got it in the end. And then I used a Gorilla Glue brush applicator to super glue the tracks together. Now I'm starting the construction on the track pieces. These are really nice actually, because the way I'm building it currently is I don't have these glued onto the hull. I have these two separate track pieces, so I can paint these separately and weather them separately and do everything different separately from the actual vehicle. This means I can paint the tracks, paint the side of it, take it all apart. Very, very, very helpful feature. Start gluing all these little tracks and getting that done and dusted. There's a lot of wheels in this thing. Hey, a lot of wheels on a Churchill. If you ever need a little stress reliever toy, you just need to buy a 1/35 Churchill and start putting these wheels together. Especially the Tamiya one, these just little pop in together, you push them through. It's like putting little pins in. It's very, very, very relaxing. Now I'm gonna try and apply the Churchill has two sprockets, so I'm putting the front sprocket onto the tank. It has this little fitting so that it's working, and it's a very simple and easy to apply. I just made it more complicated myself because I'm a bit of a numpty, but I got it in the end. So now I'm just making the exhaust points, and obviously it's a very exhausting feature. But peel the little cover, I put the cover on wrongly, because I'm a bit of a genius like that. The cover goes on wrong. I fixed it, put it on the right way, and then just glued it right onto the tank. I'm gonna put this little tiny port thing onto the exhausts. Wiggle the fitting in a bit and get it all right, and everything went on perfectly fine. And then right now I'm working on part of the exhaust system on the back of the tank. It's these two little vent ports. It's pretty, they're a nice little addition. It sort of breaks up the look of the tank because these little tiny finer little bits. So for painting and weathering, it'll look pretty nice because you could have maybe some like oil streaks or grime, whatever they actually came from these. Then you gotta put these little circular hatches on the side of the tank. It sort of gives the tank a very dated look. It kind of gives you like that World War I type of vibe, having these little side escape hatches. And then just gluing on some tools to the tank. And I struggled a little bit with the fitting of this because I was a bit of, I should have looked at it a bit better, but you know, I got it. And then just on these little back tools. The tools in the back were a bit annoying for me. They had these little shovels and you had to overlap, and the shovels just didn't fit for me. But I just had to wiggle it around a bit and then I got it, but just did not want to work for me. Did not want to work for me in the slightest. But I got in the end, and you can see it looks quite nice in the back. So now I'm just gonna start putting in some hatches to the tank, because obviously a good old tank will have a hatch. You don't want your guys just sitting in there with no protection over the top of their heads. And then this little weird L-jig little fill. I don't know what it was, but it went right into there. Had some keying, so it wasn't hard to put in. And then put in these like little oil cans, looking like little oil cans or something like that in the back of the tank. And then this little jerry can. There was these little spare track pieces which I put into the side of the tank. They have a little tiny key fitting, so it wasn't just like slamming on the side and hoping you get the fitting, like the positioning right. It's clicked in. Very nice. And then there was the little side pieces, little ropes, and then this is what I meant with the multiple assemblies. I have all these little parts. I tried to put the tracks on. The only part I struggled with was putting the tracks around the pieces and having it where I can separate it. But I got it in the end. It just took a little bit of fiddling. Sorry for not being on camera. It just took me a while to fiddle. I didn't want to do it completely away from me because I just needed that extra viewing. It was a struggle. It took me a little minute to get it done, but you know, it worked out. It worked out, and I at least have these little tiny assemblies now. And then just need to get that all fitted properly, just need to apply the upper hull, which went on very nice. It has little fitting bits on it, like little clicky bits, so it just clips right in. Now I'm going to start the construction of the turret. It's it took me a while to get to this point, but you know what? I've gotten here. A little bit of building, and for a very like detailed little kid, there wasn't a whole lot of parts. It looks very nice, quite nice little bits of detail. Not a whole lot of parts. You know, it's something you can easily put together in the one sitting. And then if you want to do some detailing, it's right for the fitting. It's, you know, you can do whatever you want with it really if you just want to modify it yourself. Just trying to make the barrel up here now. Just gotta get the little fitting right. Obviously this is an older kit. It'd be very nice if it has slide molding barrel, but you know what? It is what it is. Just gotta sand it down a bit and sort of bring it together. Okay, now I'm just gonna put these pieces again. I'm gonna build this Lego set right now. Just gotta put all the little giblets together. The whole pieces went together pretty easily. The only issue I had really was the fitting of the two side pieces. There's a tiny bit off between them. It just doesn't seem right. But everything will be sorted out. I'm gonna do a later video where I'm gonna do the casting texture, but also just gonna do some filler and cleaning up some pieces that I felt like needed it. But I'll get it all sorted out and clean it up a bit. The barrel moves and stuff like that, but that's, you know, you sort of expect that. I was very confused originally by the placement of the roof of the tank. I didn't realize that it was meant to hang over a little bit until I had actually look at some Churchills, and I realized there was a tiny bit of an overhang, but it sticks out a little bit. Threw me off a little bit. Just did some extra sanding to the barrel because I felt like it might have needed a wee bit more. Now I was drilling out the barrel to the machine gun on the side part of the turret. I definitely got a bit more down this time compared to the first time. Just using the hobby knife and spinning it around a bit. Now I'm gonna make this little storage box or whatever it was used for. Probably for storing some random things. I decided to leave it a wee bit open on the top, so that means later on I could maybe put maybe like a blanket or some sort of tarp hanging out the back of it. Just to add a wee bit of lived in, or maybe some of those bottles or something, have it hanging open. Put some bottles and a wee sheet in it. Maybe that might look a bit nice. And I'm just gonna put some hatches on the top of it. They fit in quite nicely. And I'm just gonna attach these little external fire extinguishers or smoke canisters. I had no idea what they were. And oh, wow, all this footage was off the camera. Sorry about that. But putting the storage box on goes on quite nice. There we go. And then the final product. I used some spare guitar, like electric guitar strings, cut them down a bit, drilled in the antenna ports a bit, so I could put these little guitar strings in. They work really well for making little like small antennas, because they're very rigid and they'll keep their shape. And as I said earlier, I'm going to do another video where I try to make a Hessen camouflage. I've never done it before, but I will try it out, and you can see it on a Cromwell. So I hope you can look forward to that next video. Hope to see you then.